Welcome to the Veterans in Politics Talk Show. Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, live stream on Facebook. Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Stephanie Phillips with another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today we have Leonard H. Stone, founding partner of Shook & Stone, injury lawyers, and one of the Las Vegas leading workers' compensation attorneys. But before we get to Mr. Stone, Ms. Phillips.
Thanks for joining us, everybody, and thank you to our sponsors. We have Jill Douglas. She is running for Assembly District 37. Her website is jilldouglas.com, jilldouglas.com. We also have Henderson's mayor, Michelle Romero. She's running for re-election. Her website is votemichelleromero.com, votemichelleromero.com. And we also have Judge Jennifer Schwartz. She's running for re-election, Department 17. Her website is judgeschwartz.com, judgeschwartz.com. Also, don't forget to grab your copy of Steve's book, How to Navigate Nevada's Family Court System. You can pick up a copy on Amazon. It is $14.99. And if you are a family court litigant and you don't have an attorney and can't afford one, this is a self-help book and it will help you navigate that system. Also, we have a merch store. It's vipimerch.com, vipimerch.com. There's all kinds of fun things there for you to check out. And if you are a candidate, business, nonprofit, and you want to advertise on our show and have a sign like this on our wall, get in touch with me and we will get you set up. For my rant, I will make this short. I have two rants, but I'll just do one. Yesterday, we always go down to the Judicial Selection Commission hearings when they have a vacancy to fill, and there's an appointment process. So we usually go down there, but yesterday's interview was via Zoom. So this was our first time being on Zoom, and it was interesting. It differs than the process when you are there in person. We found this interesting. We thought that it should be consistent, whether you're on Zoom or in person. So the difference was the applicant was not able to participate in the executive session when they were talking about private things that are not for the public. Always, when we're in person, we step out of the courtroom, right? And the candidate or applicant stays in there with the members, and they all discuss, and then the public is allowed back in, and they continue on. This. All three of us, Steve and I were there. The candidate and applicant herself was barred from hearing that. The other thing, when we spoke and gave public comment at the beginning of this, our videos were not live. There were no video for either of us. No one of the public can have their video going. All they hear is audio. And also the applicant, her video was not working, and they attributed that to safety concerns. So I would like to know what those safety concerns are, that those videos can't be turned on and everyone see each other. I thought that was odd. What else with that Zoom thing? I think that maybe they should have a list of rules that they send out of how Zoom calls go for these particular meetings. I thought it should be in person. Anyway, so I thought the Zoom thing was weird. But anyway, what did you think of that?
Well, they didn't pick a candidate because apparently it was too close to the election.
Yeah, they chose to not send a name to the governor for appointment because they figured they would let the voters decide in November.
Well, I wish they would have done that same thing when after Jessica Goody filed and Pete Tunnell filed and Daniel Hodge filed. I wish they would have not, send Pete Tunnell's name to the governor after filing and made him become the incumbent. Jessica Goody, good job.
Yeah, she set that record straight. Good job, Jessica. But there was a lot of, in their defense, there are many more months, to the election than what there is now. But still, I didn't like the Zoom for this particular procedure. I think it always should be in person. I don't know why it wasn't in person. First time I've seen in Zoom. How about you?
Yeah,
first time?
Yes.
Yeah, it was odd. Yeah. But anyway, There we go.
Yeah. But by the way, great rant.
Thanks.
I think this, we're moving towards more and more Zoom and less human contact. And for elections, seriously, for elections, candidates, consistency. But look, people should have to show up if they care. They should show up in person. They should be heard. The process should be consistent. So I like your rant today.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Stone,
Steve,
thank you
great.
for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Happy
Could
to be
you give us a bio?
Yeah, my bio. Well, I'm going to keep it short. I don't know how much people care about my whole life, but
I care.
I'll say
I care about your life.
Yeah, you do. Thank you. That's why you invited me here.
Yeah.
So yeah, my Nevada life is since about 1990, right? So I'd say Vegas became my home 1991. I went to law school and graduated in 95. And I went to law school in Los Angeles in California. So my decision was, stay in California or try something else. And I mean, it's hard for people to see this now because, Vegas is growing the way it has. But even in the mid-90s, it was blowing up. But, if you said to somebody, look, I'm going to move to Vegas, they would have told you were crazy. And maybe I was a bit crazy back then. But I could see kind of the obvious. I could see that the town was blowing up. I was a young person. I had no sense of where I was going to go. But there was opportunity and I followed it. So that brought me out here by 95. I started as an insurance defense lawyer with a big firm. And I'm one of the lucky ones that had a mentor. And he's since passed away, a great Nevada lawyer, a guy named Neil Galitz.
Okay.
Ever heard of him?
No.
All right. So this is the way history goes. It's shocking that you haven't heard that name because Neil Galitz was the lead plaintiff's counsel for the MGM fire. He was the lead plaintiff's counsel for the Hilton fire.
He was the lead 95.
95? All right. And so the MGM fire, the Hilton fire, and the Pepcon disaster. Okay. Those are three events, mass events, that changed the entire face of the legal community. All right. So a lot of people, spent the better part of their careers litigating all three of those events. Okay. Anyways, so I had the pleasure of meeting Neil Galitz. He took me under his wing. He's the reason why I'm a plaintiff's lawyer, right? I wasn't chasing billboards. At that point in my life, I had no sense of what kind of money I could earn, anything like that. I say I'm the lucky one because I had this great mentor, but I got lucky enough to fall into something that kind of matched my value system, right? And that doesn't happen to everybody. So that's why I'm a plaintiff's lawyer. By 97, I've met my partner, John Shook, and we start Shook and Stone. And I think you'd be hard-pressed to find another two-person law firm that has lasted as long as Shook and Stone.
You've been around since 95, right, Shook and Stone?
Yeah, well, Shook and Stone's been around since about 97.
Okay.
I've been practicing since 95.
Okay.
And I told somebody yesterday, I literally remember sitting in an office by myself, typing out my own letter, taking an envelope to the typewriter, putting the address on it, licking the stamp, putting it on the envelope. And I've got those very clear memories of nothing. Now our firm's over 100 people. Wow. And we've got two offices down here in Vegas and another office up north. And things have just grown. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, tell us a little about your education.
Right. So college at a place called Brandeis University. Ever heard of it? Oh, you have? Okay, that's rare. It's outside of Boston. I went to Brandeis, graduated in 91. I studied American history. I studied the classics. Again, at that point, I didn't know I was going to be a lawyer.
What do you mean the classics?
Yeah, so Greek and Roman history, archaeology. Okay. Like I said, all shapes and sizes of American history. Went from there, obviously I was pre-law, went to Loyola Law School in Los Angeles, graduated in 95, and Nevada, here I come. Yeah. So that's a little of my history. I'm married, got 2 kids, got a son that goes to Chapman University in Southern California. I've got a daughter that's a marketing machine and an amazing mother. And we've got a busy, exciting life. I've held community leadership positions. I was chairman of the Jewish Federation. I've done that. I was president of a community center. And now I'm vice chair of the Nevada Justice Association. And yeah, I'm sort of stricken with a disease that if there is a way I can help, I'm going to say yes. Sometimes I run out of energy and time, but that's very much built into who I am. So
The Nevada Justice Association, what do they do?
right. So the leading consumer rights entity in the state of Nevada. So we're all about protecting the Seventh Amendment, the right to a jury trial. We're about protecting civil liberties, individual rights. And I don't have to tell the two of you, because I know what makes you tick, that there is a never-ending onslaught and attack on individual freedoms, liberties, rights. It comes from corporate America. It comes from, the halls of the state capitals in Washington, D.C. There's a lot of money being spent to limit individual rights. And what I love about the NJA is it's all about protecting those rights, right? In a million different ways. I'll give you some examples. So during the past 2 sessions, we did things like we increased the caps for medical malpractice claims. We helped out with the non-binding arbitration program. We increased the caps there. So we're all about trying to find ways to provide more people with access to the court system, fair access to the court system. So 2 examples of about 1 million I could provide. And I would just say that Nevadans are safer because the NJA exists and is just constantly watching legislation that people are trying to pass, constantly looking for things like immunity or for other ways that businesses or other groups may try to limit individual rights.
So what motivated you to leave the insurance defense work and begin representing injured victims?
Like I said, I got lucky, Steve. I met Neil Gallitz. So I had already started doing some community work. And it's too long a story for me to share completely with you today, but I'll just tell you, it's like I do remember sitting in my office and the bat phone rang. And the bat phone, man, it rang. And this guy named Neil Gallitz said, "Listen, I've heard good things about you. Come out to my ranch." Yeah, he had a ranch. Uh-oh. And come, and I want to talk to you. And he said, "Look, I'm a plaintiff's lawyer. I've got 2 daughters. One's a doctor. The other one's not a professional. You want to be a better lawyer? I'll teach you." And lucky me, right? Because with all candor, I've got insurance defense lawyers that are great attorneys and great people. But if that had been the rest of my life, I think I'd have been very unhappy, right? I am much happier representing people, being their storyteller. To me, I can feel that impact. It's more than dollars and cents. And listen, I think life's a lot about living a meaningful life. That's how you get happy. And that's what I do. So yeah, that's why I do it.
What types of cases
Mostly do you do?
So our law firm is sort of unique, right? So we do injury cases. I think everybody that's out there knows what an injury case is, right? For better or for worse, drive down the I-15, you know what an injury case is. So we do a lot of that. I'm a litigator. That's what I do. We also do workers' compensation. Steve mentioned that. So people that are injured on the job. And we do disability. And so, yeah, Steve, when you called me and you said, "Look, do you want to be on the show?" I'll tell you, the first thing that occurred to me really is the disability side of our practice. It's not what I spend my days doing. We've got this amazing division that does it, but it's because of the crossover with veterans, right? So you and I had an exchange, and what I said to you, and I'll say it again online, is that there's a lot of veterans that file for disability, and they think that's their only path. I think most of them don't realize there's another parallel path. They can actually apply for benefits, not only for VA disability, but for Social Security disability. And here's the kicker.
You help with that?
We do. We do a ton of it. We do more of it than anybody in the state. Okay? And again, it's not exciting
What's your
work.
Success rate in that?
Huge. It's very good.
Okay.
It's not 100%, right? And that's the thing. There's no such thing as 100% success in anything. Okay? But it's very strong. And for people that don't know, a lot of people don't realize, in fact, I'm going to ask the two of you if you know this. I remember, what was your first job?
I worked at the office at my high school.
Office of your high school. What'd you do?
I worked in the office and did admin stuff an hour before school and an hour after school.
Okay.
I was 13.
Okay. 13. But you got a paycheck?
Yep.
Okay, paycheck. Steve, first job.
Oh man, I was gang banging, you know.
Maybe so. Maybe that was your first job.
Selling drugs
All right.
in the Bronx.
I delivered newspapers for the Daily News and the New York Post
Where was that?
in the Bronx.
In the Bronx.
Yeah.
All right. So for both of you, by the way, I actually worked for a law firm in Midtown one summer of my life. So,
Was that you?
and I got family on the island, Great Neck, Hewlett, whatever.
Long
okay,
Island?
Long Island.
Okay, not Staten Island.
Not Staten Island.
Okay.
All right, here's the deal. Question for you is this: you've got that first job, you get your check, you look at the check, and there's withholdings. Did you know what those were?
Mhm.
Yeah, every single one of them.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. Did you know that you were paying insurance premiums?
No, I just figured I was paying for
Taxes.
federal tax, Social Security, Medicare.
Yeah.
Union dues.
Yeah.
No, none of that. They
Yeah.
didn't
So
have
listen. Here's why this matters. Here's why this matters. I think to your audience. Okay. Because one of the withholdings on that check was an insurance premium, the same insurance premium you'd give, Aflac the duck or something. Okay. But you probably didn't know that. You were paying insurance premiums.
What do they label it under? Because
Yeah,
there's
so
like
I
FICA, FUTA,
I don't remember.
SUTA.
Yeah, right.
Right? Whatever those, whatever those
I
were.
don't remember what
But
the
this
label
was
is.
years ago. I mean, this was what, 86?
No, it applied in 86 too.
Okay.
It applied in 86 too.
Okay.
Okay? Because because many Americans and veterans don't realize they're paying insurance premiums for disability insurance. So that if they go down and they can't work, they've got benefits there. They think they've got to go out and buy it. They've got to buy, again, Aflac or something like that. Not true.
Unless you're a 1099.
Okay? Well, yeah, if you're a 1099 and there's no withholding, if you don't pay into the system, then yeah, you don't get the gift at the end. You got to pay for it in order to be eligible for it. It's that simple.
So every state is
Not just Nevada.
No,
Every
this
state,
is federal, right? Right. This is nationwide. Okay, is that there's all these people walking around right now. If they go down because of any disability, they may have this coverage and they don't know it. And a lot of veterans think that. They don't even realize they're eligible for it. By the way, 2 programs, we're not going to go deep today, but 2 programs, you can buy it and pay for it. That's the withholding. Or there's what we would call the welfare side, SSI. And that's because you don't have a lot of money to your name, in short. And society is still here. We still care for those people. We still provide disability coverage for those people, just not as much as for the people that pay for it. So anyways, so we do a lot of that work. And I'll tell you, that work is really feel-good work because those people are really kind of at the end. Okay, they can't work anymore. What are they going to do? Let's say you got somebody who's 50, they have a heart attack. Where are they going to go? What are they going to do? And that's an option for them. And again, if it's a vet, they could apply for VA disability. It's got to be service related. And they can at the same time apply for Social Security disability. So anyways, that's important crossover. Okay? Just because people need to know that.
I tried the SSI and they rejected me like twice.
Yeah, why'd they do that?
I forget. It's been some time ago.
Yeah. Well, again, I'll go as deep as you guys want to go, but the bottom line is most of the people that apply, they'll file their initial application, they'll get denied, you got to appeal it, they'll get denied, you got to appeal it, and then you end up in a hearing. And we've got lawyers on staff that only represent people at those hearings. But here's the deal. From here, the time that you apply, until here, the time that you get a hearing, that could be 2 years. All right? So now if you win, you can get all of those back benefits. Right? And it's not as significant. Now, how much do you think it would be? What would be your guess? What do you think is the maximum amount that you could get from Social Security, not retirement, from Social Security disability?
100 grand.
That's a lot of money. $4,000 a month and Medicare.
How many?
Right.
Is there a cap on the number of years or?
No.
Okay.
So
if you're a disabled vet?
even if you're a disabled vet, right? Yeah, if it's that stuff you bought and paid for, you get it on top of your VA disability, on top of it. So for somebody like you, I know this is probably years ago for you, right? But if you applied and you were denied, really, you probably needed representation. I'm not here to be a TV.
I did have representation.
You did?
Mhm.
Okay. So
Maybe it wasn't very good representation.
Maybe. Right. Maybe. So anyways, to me, that's that's good works that our firm does. I'm pretty proud of it. And anyways, that's one way that we help a lot of people. You asked us about our practice areas, right? It's wide ranging. And so one more thing, by the way, I see you got a question on your mind. One more thing that's fascinating. Think about this. This is crazy. So let's think about a delivery man who's driving his delivery truck and he gets hit by a drunk driver. Okay? So you may say it's a car accident case like any other. No, it's more than that. That person has a claim against the other driver. Okay, that's like the billboards on the 15. Great. That person has a workers' compensation claim. Totally different. That's a second claim. And if that person is disabled and can't work for 12 months, that's a Social Security disability claim. So there are scenarios, this triangle, if you will, where you can have one person that has 3 different paths to recovery. And to me, I find that amazing. I find that very important, right? So that
Most people don't know that.
they don't know that. So
Auto accidents, auto insurance, injuries with that. I'm sure you've done a million of them. So when someone has an accident, they go see a lawyer, they go to their preferred doctor, and it gets, you go to the doctor, physical therapy, all this stuff, and you hit the insurance companies. And it doesn't seem like these insurance companies fight back very much. Seems like they don't investigate or make the person you send medical receipts and, doctor bills and stuff like that. But it seems like these auto insurance companies just roll over, settle, send a check, and they pass it on to the customer. And then the customer is sitting here with high rates, especially here in Nevada, and people look at lawyers and doctors. So can you, and the insurance companies, so they look at this as, this is the reason our insurance is so high. So can you tell the audience if that's a fallacy? How does that really work?
yeah,
What's your opinion?
it's a softball question. So if you want me to hit it, I'll hit the
Do it.
softball. So
Give him a curve.
look.
I have my own opinion.
Yeah,
but
you got your own opinion.
I want to hear from you.
So listen. This really dovetails with where we started, right? So where did we start, right? As I was listening to your comments, and I was thinking to myself about fairness and justice, and we talked a little bit about what happens in state legislatures and federally, and how corporations come in and they kind of do what they want. I got to tell you, I'm frightened to death about what corporations are able to do. And I don't want to get myself in trouble by talking about any specific company, but we can look at what happened during the last session we can see what happens when multi-billion-dollar corporations get to play around with the playing field. So the answer to your question is, the large insurance companies don't become wealthy by rolling over and showing their belly, right? Like, we all understand that. We all need insurance. If you don't have it, you're crazy, right? By the way, if you don't have medical payments coverage, if you don't have coverage on your car, you're crazy. Why? Because we know that about 25% of drivers on the road are uninsured. We know that. All right. But going back to your question, so these insurance companies make money. They collect the premiums. They make a big pile of those premiums every year. And the less of it they pay out to Steve, the more of it they keep. Right? That's the game. Okay. So they're never excited to write big checks to our clients. And they can be nasty. They can be really nasty. How can they be nasty? Well, saying no is pretty nasty. They can also surveil you. They can hire private investigators to follow you.
Do they though?
They do.
Only on like high dollar cases. I mean, the average person that has,
Well,
you know.
listen, it doesn't make sense on every case.
Mhm.
Okay, but on the right cases, they do. They have done that to our clients. It's nasty. In fact, if you go to a settlement conference, in fact, this happened to me today. I'll tell you how I dealt with this issue today. So listen to this. Say you have a lawyer. Say your lawyer fights for you. Say you get to a point where you can actually sit down and have a settlement conference and maybe try to resolve the matter. That's called mediation, by the way, for those of you who don't know. Okay? A mediation is when you go somewhere and all of the parties go to one place, they sit in different rooms, and there's a mediator that goes between the parties, and that mediator tries to bring people together. That's essentially a settlement conference. Okay? Well, when you go to those settlement conferences, there are carriers that will videotape you and your client going to the conference and leaving the conference, just so that they can show that video to a jury at some point and say, look, they look fine. Look, there's no limp, or something like that. So what do we do about that? Well, for example, today I sent an email to a bunch of defendants that are getting ready to roll over. And they said, look, we want to mediate the case. And that's fine, we'll mediate it, but here are some rules and parameters. And here's one. You're going to agree, you're going to sign off that you will not videotape me or my client at mediation. Think about it. How crazy is that we have to think that way, that we have to protect our clients that way? Mm-hmm. So, you threw me a big softball. There wouldn't be a need for lawyers if you could get into a car crash and just go to an office building somewhere, and it was just like, hey, here's the building that you go to, and they'll just write checks for you, and you can just go to this building and pick up your check. And but I got news for you. Even if that existed, that'd be a terrible plan, because the truth is most people don't fully understand the value of their own claims. So not even they understand what they should be getting.
That's true.
So anyways.
How many do you actually, that you have to litigate that when they don't settle? What's the ratio for that? So
what you said earlier kind of applies. If it's a more valuable case, then you're going to have to litigate the case to get the real money.
What's a more valuable case?
I'd say anything that is in, for me, it's going to be over 100,000, something like that. Okay. It doesn't mean we don't litigate cases that are less than 100,000, right? It just means once you get to the 100,000 mark, now we're starting to say to ourselves, look, client, yeah, it's worthwhile for you to do this, right? Like, we're going to spend some money doing it, but you're going to net out just fine, right? At the end of the day, it's about the client. And, I said this to somebody earlier today, this guy, he doesn't like the money that's being offered. He said, I want to go to court. And I said, this is a terrible idea. He said, why? I said, because the only person who's going to make more money if we go to court is going to be the lawyer. He says, my fee will go up. You'll spend more money. We'll get a little more money, but then you'll pay me. You'll pay more costs. No, so it sounds kind of cheesy, but at the end of the day, we should be making decisions for our clients. You ever heard the term fiduciary? Right, I'm sure you guys have, and probably most of your audience has as well. Maybe they're not clear on what it means. A fiduciary is a professional that has to put the interests of their client before their own. Right, and that's really what lawyers should be doing.
After the interrogatories are done, and then they know that you're going to go to trial. Do a lot of the insurance companies settle just before trial?
Right. So, every case has to be prepared for trial. If the carrier gets kind of a hint that you're not going to try the case, they're not going to offer you good money. But the answer to your question, Steve, is that statistically, if cases are litigated well, as you get closer to trial, they're more likely to settle the case. So that's what's going to happen.
And in your experience, how much has that been? What's the most have you?
You mean settlements?
Yes.
There could multi-million-dollar settlements. Yeah.
Okay. You used to be a insurance defense counsel.
I was.
Right?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. How does your experience as an insurance defense counsel help your clients on the other side?
Yeah, that's a good question. Listen, there, like I said
What kind of
earlier,
tricks do you know?
yeah, a lot of tricks, right? No, a lot of tricks. I'm
Do
gonna
tell.
right. Let me tell everybody all my secrets. I mean, listen, it's just between us,
Your
right?
partner would be really happy.
It's just between us, right? Okay, so right. So when you can see how an insurance company makes its decisions, what actually moves the needle, I think that's what has stayed with me the most. Number one. Number two, I think you also, if you can understand the mentality of the other attorney, I think that matters. So I've discovered, everybody thinks, right, the best lawyer is the lawyer that is the most aggressive. I don't think that's always the case. There are times you have to be hyper aggressive and you've got to draw lines. But I'll tell you, you can resolve more cases through rapport and through understanding what the win is going to look like for your opponent. You know, at the end of the day, there's a lawyer on the other side that's got an insurance company to answer to. And they want to make their money, that's true. And they also want to look good for their carrier. So if you can help the other attorney look good for their carrier, right, that's gonna go a long way. So these are the subtleties of practicing law that nobody talks about. Everyone talks about interrogatories, depositions. You know something? There's a lot more humanity to the job than people know. There's a lot, if you're my opponent, listen, we can agree to disagree and we can still find ways to collaborate, right? And I find I'm able to do that a lot with my opponents, right?
So could you say what insurance companies you actually worked for, or is that?
Well, yeah, a bunch of them. So I worked for an insurance defense law firm, right? So what happens is if you go to one insurance defense law firm, they're going to have multiple carriers.
Gotcha.
In that same law firm.
Oh, so you didn't just particularly work for one?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
What are the biggest misconceptions people have about personal injury attorneys?
Well, that's easy. I've now mentioned the I-15 twice, so we'll throw it in a third time. I think when we do focus groups and we talk to people, we ask them those questions, right? So incidentally, we do this when we're picking a jury. You want to filter out biases and prejudices. And I think your audience kind of knows the answer, right? It's a quick buck. They don't care. They're just marketing machines. The lawyer on the billboard or on the commercial is not somebody I'm ever going to meet or talk to. It's just a machine. So I've got to say, I think those are the most dangerous thoughts about lawyers. But I mean, here's the catch. Like everything else, there's good doctors and there's bad doctors, there's good lawyers and there's bad lawyers. Mm-hmm. So I think it'd be a mistake for me to say that every lawyer cares, or it's a mistake for me to say that every lawyer always puts the interests of their client in front of their own interests. That's not true. There's good and bad. There's good and bad. So I mean, for me, I think that's the most damaging thing to our industry are those thoughts. By the way, I also think it's damaging for the justice system. I mean, the fact of the matter is that to the extent that those bad thoughts are out there, I think it prevents people from going to an attorney. They think they're going to be taken advantage of. And I know this is something, Steve, that you talk a lot about what can happen in family court. And obviously, this is just another way that you can curb that is by giving people knowledge. But I think what happens to people is they're frightened. They think that they're going to be taken advantage by someone. I know
a lot of people feel that way.
They do. And I've got to tell you, my career now is 30 years long. And I am regularly having conversations with clients. And it sounds strange to say, but you have to earn their trust, right? You got to earn their trust. I think it's ridiculous to think that somebody's going to walk in to my office on day one and sign a retainer and automatically trust me. I've always thought this was something that was really interesting, not just about law, but about other professions. Think about it. If, like, for example, a friend of mine just had heart surgery. Okay, he's a great guy, and I guarantee the two of you know who he is. And he's a great guy. And I said, well, how did you find your doctor? And he said, yeah, well, I asked this guy, and he said it was a good doctor. So think about it. This doctor, who my friend didn't know, and really doesn't know now, this doctor had my friend's heart in his hand, right? And so I think there's something fascinating about professionals that life calls for you to trust people in an instant. And sometimes you're right, and sometimes you're not. I would suggest it's probably a mistake just to trust your own instincts. It's probably smart to ask other people about their experiences. You got to do your research. But here's the point. Research on the net, or you want to use Claude, or you want to use Chat GPT, that's probably not going to get you there. Okay? So you're probably going to need to talk to real people.
You can use it as a tool.
You
but
can. You
not,
definitely
not,
can.
Not as something that's definite.
Exactly. By the way, let me say this. I'm sure your audience, I guarantee you, your audience is more educated today than they ever have been. And I'm finding that now is, even if you go back now 3 years, there's been a tremendous change. There's people that I'm talking to, when there's a decision to be made, they're using ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity. And I can hear that the questions that they're asking are smarter than they ever have been. I mean, to me, that's a good thing. I think, again, cheesy. I think knowledge is power. And they ask me tough questions. And for me, I kind of welcome it. The more knowledgeable they are, the more confident I am that they are making their own decision. That they're making their own decision. So, yeah.
Any legislation or reforms that deals with personal injury you want to see change in any way, amended, or maybe you want to see something added that is actually not there? Anything like that?
Steve, your timing.
And did you go lobby?
Yeah,
any of the legislators in your 20-something years?
I have. And so what I will tell you is, because this is a funny time, right? We're starting to get close to our next session. Oh, yeah. And so what I'll tell you, you asked me about the NJ earlier, and it's an organization like many others that is just hyper vigilant. So even right now, I apologize, there are things that I can't talk about, where we can see things that are coming, and we have to start strategizing now. I bet you, your audience, again, I know you, and so your audience really is, I think, in tune. They've got their ears to the tracks. And so I think many of them probably already understand that when you're thinking about new legislation, it could take you 2 sessions to get legislation passed. True. You can't just come up with an idea and then all of a sudden get passed. But the general answer to your question,
committee first.
You got to get out of committee. So there's a lot happening, and I think this is kind of the beauty of what the two of you do. Is I sort of feel like what you do here is you kind of crack the hood, right? It's a little bit like the Wizard of Oz. You pull the curtain back about what's really happening with judicial races or what's really happening with legislation. And I'll tell you, I don't think the general public really understands how complicated it is. All right, it's not just the process; it's the matrix of relationships that affect every decision. So, but the general answer to your question, things that we are thinking about all the time. I mentioned earlier, any form of immunity bothers the hell out of us. What do I mean by immunity? Any time that someone can be negligent, could be less than safe, but have laws that protect them, that bothers the hell out of me. I believe in holding people accountable.
How about judicial immunity? Is that included in there too?
Well, judicial immunity, yeah, that's. By the way, that's no. I have to be very careful. But the answer to your question is, you're right. That's not something. That's kind of a hot potato that we're not going to touch. And you're also right. It's another reason why what you do is so important, because you're also right that one bad person, one person who doesn't care enough about being a judge, or for some reasons of their own is sort of misguided in their approach to how they make decisions. One person can affect just so many people and so many lives, and that is frightening. That is frightening.
Yeah.
But Steve,
We got one at the White House right now.
yeah. By the way, I got no problem going on record there. So there you go. That easy for me. Okay. So we're going to look. Every session we're looking at things like this. We're looking at immunity. We're looking at workers' rights. We're looking at businesses and industries that are trying to push through any legislation that's going to impair an individual's rights. That's what we're looking for. So last session, we all know what was happening with ride sharing, okay? And a deal was cut. And the deal was good and it was bad. If you want to look at the good of it, I think it's good that ride sharing companies have to carry $1 million of coverage when they're on the clock or they're on the way to pick someone up. That's good. A lot of us feel it should be higher, but at least there's $1 million. By the way, $1 million's a hell of a lot better than the state minimum of $25,000.
What is that?
Okay, so but again, we can have these amazing conversations about things that should obviously be changed.
That's good that
But-
you're talking,
Yeah.
excuse me, about this because people
Yeah.
don't know. There's so many people take Uber and Lyft and all that.
That's right.
So explain that. People don't really generally
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
What
Right.
happens when you're
Right.
in one of those and you get in an accident?
Yeah, that's great. That's a great question.
Mhm.
So there are several things people don't know. I mean, there's many, all right, because these are complicated cases. But one is just that, is that these ride-sharing companies are required to carry $1 million of coverage. By the way, food service delivery companies are also required to carry $1 million of coverage.
Uber Eats.
Okay? Uber Eats. Uber Eats. Yeah. So
Sue you, mess my sandwich up.
yeah. I mean, no, but by the way, if they mess your sandwich up, Steve, that's a criminal matter, not a civil matter. So if it's a ride sharing vehicle, there is legislation that addresses the coverage they need to have. So that's one. Two is people don't realize that there are potentially layers of coverage that are available to you. Right? It's not just the ride sharing vehicle, but it could also be your own insurance. So again, this is just the complications of the law, right? So this is the way that works. Vicarious liability, by the way, is more difficult against
Explain that.
against them. So vicarious liability generally is when an employer is responsible for the acts of somebody that's working for them.
Gotcha.
Okay, and what I'll let your audience know is be very mindful of this. There is this ongoing battle about vicarious liability and whether ride-sharing companies nationally, right? Obviously, this is dealt with at a state-by-state level, though it could be dealt with nationally. Whether ride-sharing companies should be responsible for the acts of their drivers, or are the drivers going to be considered 1099 independent contractors?
Is it something like you let somebody borrow your vehicle and they cause an accident?
Yeah.
And that person sues the person that was driving, and then sues the person that owns the car, and then sues the persons that on their insurance policies.
Yeah.
Is that something like that? But they were nowhere near that accident.
Yeah,
They were
Steve.
just giving their keys and let the person have a vehicle, and all of a
Right.
sudden now they're in some litigation.
Yes. So here's the thing, like, right? So your comments
Just
great.
trying to be nice.
You are. We're all trying to be nice. Yeah, but actually, you make a great point. In fact, I said this to somebody recently, a client, and they brought it up again. Yesterday, this client said to me, "So I remember, Leonard, you said that you guys are like hound dogs," and so what I told him, and this is true, is we are trained to look for buckets. Right, we're going to look for buckets. And one bucket is, you can loan your car to somebody, but if your buddy Jimmy's been in 5 DUIs,
And you know
right,
about it.
and he's got a pattern, of being a terrible driver, that's called negligent, and trust me, you can't do that. So,
Could you be criminally liable if you know that your buddy has been drinking all the time and you give him your keys?
you're probably not going to be criminally liable, but unless, again, Yeah, if you were a part of a horrible decision that was made. But incidentally, I don't know how much time we've got,
Go ahead.
but your audience could help me with a case.
Oh boy,
Are you ready?
we're gonna have to charge you.
Yeah, you may have to charge. So your audience. This is we're going to see if your audience responds to this. So this is a call that I got a few months ago from a woman that lives here in Las Vegas, and her husband is a merchant marine. You know what that is? Yeah, you do. You know what a merchant marine is?
Tell 'em.
So the merchant marines, there are companies that actually contract with the federal government. They work with the Navy, and they actually transport goods around the globe. So they actually they're basically cargo ships that are sailing all around the world.
Like weapons.
Okay, like weapons. So she calls me. She says, my dad. She says, my husband is a merchant marine, and I'll tell you what happened is, Mr. Stone, is on a Friday we went to see the Eagles at the Sphere. My husband and I. We had a.
You saw that too?
Well, I didn't see it.
Okay.
He did.
I heard that was really
Everyone says it's great.
Yeah.
So this couple, they go to see the Eagles, and they go home. And the next day is Saturday, and the husband gets up and flies to Norfolk, Virginia,
Cold.
because he is scheduled to be on a ship a couple days later. The next day, sadly, she gets a knock on her door. Two police officers show up
Oh no.
and say, and they unfortunately, horribly tell her, your husband has died. Obviously, she's in incredible shock. And she comes to discover that her husband was found in the back seat of a car that was submerged in water off of one of the piers of Norfolk, Virginia. He is in the back seat, he has a seatbelt on, and the driver is gone. To make matters more complicated, an autopsy is performed on him, and there's no water in his lungs,
So he wasn't breathing when he went in the water.
which means that he likely died before he ever hit the water. And he's seatbelted in the back of this vehicle. More information is revealed. When he gets to Norfolk, Virginia, he meets 3 of his shipmates. They go to a pizza parlor. They have a pizza. They have a bunch of drinks. And we have video of this gentleman, the decedent, the husband, going out to the garage, getting into the back seat of the car, and the driver getting into the front seat of the car.
Who's the driver?
I don't want to state any names, but
He
you
probably
know,
checked.
but
Oh my god.
but this is all we have. So here's what happens. The prosecutor calls me and said, look, I want you to know, I feel terrible about this, but we cannot prosecute in this case. I says, why can't you prosecute? We can't prosecute because the autopsy does not establish that the cause of death was related to the car being off the end of the pier. In other words, there is no proof that he died because the car entered the water.
So what killed him?
So that's the question for your audience.
Oh my god.
What happened here? Pizza parlor, drinks. Driver and the husband get into the car. Driver gets into the driver's seat. Husband gets into the back seat and is seat belted. Next thing we know, car's in the water.
Driver.
Husband is dead. Driver somehow made it back to the ship. That's all we know.
What was it? Cardiac.
pushed
And there is no way to prove that the car ending up in the water or that the driver had anything to do with
Yeah,
his
he
death.
did. Did he call 911?
Well, maybe.
No.
How did he get out of the vehicle without trying to? Did he try to administer help?
So the story goes, Steve, because we'll put a little more meat on these bones. So the story goes, he somehow got out of the car, and a bystander saw him laying in the street, the driver, and he needed some assistance in the street. Somehow he got up and wandered away, drunker than a skunk. He's been asked what happened, and his answer is, I don't remember anything.
So the car just rolled by itself off the end of the pier?
But
No.
he was already dead.
Right. That's the thing. It's
So
between
who
the
killed him? What killed him?
between the pizza. There's no evidence
Alcohol
that he was killed.
poisoning? Any kind of drug in his?
No, he had no.
in his
The
drinks?
husband
Stroke?
had alcohol in his system, but not enough to kill him,
No
and frankly,
stroke, no illicit drugs.
no proof of it.
So, Mr. Stone,
Hmm.
Go ahead, Steve. What do you got now?
What a case.
how do you decide whether to go to trial or whether to settle?
Steve, everything in life is a cost-benefit analysis, right?
True.
That applied to my decision to come here. Everything we do, we're trying to figure out, is this worthwhile?
I'm glad.
By the way,
You
I'm
feel
not
we're
sure.
worthwhile.
Thank
I'm
you
not
for
sure.
worth it.
Yeah, if I've been given a chance to make this decision again, I'm not sure I'd be here. But whatever, here I am.
Billions
Okay.
to go make. I mean, you know.
Okay, so everything is a cost-benefit analysis.
Right.
Good lawyers don't make flip decisions with cost-benefit analyses. So by way of example, if you want to know if a case should go to trial and you want to know if you're asking for the right amount, you have to do focus groups. You have to talk to people. You don't just kind of lick your finger, put it up in the air, let the wind blow and say, this is what I think. So what we're trying to do when we're deciding whether or not to go to trial is we're asking ourselves, is there more money to be made by going to trial without assuming unnecessary risk? That's what we're doing. That's it. And I'll tell you when it gets difficult. It gets difficult when focus groups tell you that the claim is extremely valuable and the carrier puts very good money on the table, and you have to have this conversation with your client. Say, look, we think the case is more valuable. And the client will look at you and will say, well, Leonard, that's fabulous that you think that my claim is worth more money, but you can't guarantee me, can you? No, I can't guarantee you. So you want me to take a flyer on all these focus groups that you've done because you think the case is worth more, and right now they're offering me this money guaranteed? Yeah, that's the decision before you. And I think a lot of people have a hard time trusting the lawyer, right? Or taking that chance. And by the way, the average person can't, because it's their one shot.
Yeah, and sometimes
It's
it's
their
not
one
about the
shot.
lawyer.
It's their one
Sometimes
shot.
It's about their own economic situation.
Yeah, that's right. And I got to say, Steve, it's their own economic situation, and what they're thinking is look, this may be my last shot. And certainly if a case is a bigger case, it's the only time that they're going to get this money. So these are really, really hard decisions for people. And I got to tell you, just because this thought came up, it's another interesting thing. And this happened to me last year. We talk about people making hard decisions. And this is kind of fun because I can let your audience in on what lawyers really see, what we really experience. So here's another fact pattern, okay? That's a little bit about how people make decisions, okay? So I represented a young lady who was the surviving daughter of her father. Her father, unfortunately, had some drug and alcohol problems and was homeless. And this gentleman was walking across Boulder Highway, jaywalking. He got halfway across the street. He stepped into the next lane, and he was hit by a truck, and he was killed. Is there any claim there?
No, it's his fault.
Yeah.
Well,
Kind of seems
right?
that way, right?
No, did the guy go
Yeah.
through a red light?
No red light.
Was he speeding?
So
Was
no.
he not paying attention? Was he on the phone?
Was he drunk?
So
He was drunk.
so by the way, that's very good.
Oh, if he was drunk, it's over.
So hang on. So think about this fact pattern. We have, sadly, unfortunately, we have a gentleman who's definitely under the influence of drugs and alcohol, who is jaywalking, who is killed, the victim. We then discovered that the driver of the truck was drunk.
They went to the same bar.
Okay. Now that story enough is incredible, is it not?
Yes.
It is incredible. And we recovered a lot of money for that daughter.
Of course you did.
Now, wait a minute. Now things get interesting.
Uh-oh.
Here's why they get interesting. We have a young woman who is not educated, who's about to be handed a large sum of money.
How large?
Close to 7 figures.
Ooh,
Okay.
baby.
She, by profile, she's in her early 20s.
Ah.
She is a housekeeper.
Mhm.
She doesn't know what to do with this money.
Was she legal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm now working with her, and I'm aware of the fact that she's going to end up with this big chunk of money. So I think most attorneys are happy to earn their fee. You hand the money to the client, and that's it. But it bothered me to put this kind of money in the hands of somebody that I felt couldn't handle it. She had other family members in her ear.
There we go.
Okay.
That money be gone in 6 months.
So I sat down with her and I said, look, this is something that never happens to people. This is like gifts from the sky, where you have a chance now to change your entire life. Like, I bet you've never really thought about what it is you want to do with your life. Like, what is your dream? Like, right now you live hand to mouth and you're working as a housekeeper. What do you really want to do? And she had some ideas. I said, well, now would be the time to do that. And I did something else. I took this sum of money and I showed her what happens if money grows over time. Okay? And
You went the extra mile, didn't you?
well, yeah, but I'm not looking for any awards. But yeah, this is the way that I think, is I'm thinking about how lives are going to be affected. And by the way, for your audience, we really should all, everyone here, we should all do a better job of thinking about what happens to money when it grows over time. There isn't anything more powerful than the time value of money. So 100,000 becomes 200,000, becomes 400,000, becomes 800,000, becomes 1.6 million. But people have a very hard time thinking in those terms. They can't see more than a day or two ahead of them. And to be fair, most people are trying to survive. So they have a hard time thinking that way. So the end of this story, because I don't think I'm here for
It's all about you.
multiple hours. But I don't want it to be about me. But the end of the story is that I was unable to convince her that the money really should be treated differently and that it could unlock the keys to other things for her.
Yeah, like some
And something like
real
that.
estate.
And in fact, by the way, the last that I heard of her, she said, I'm going to take this money and I'm going to put it into my bank account. And I know there's people out there in your audience saying, oh my God, that's crazy. Who would leave a large sum of money sitting in a bank account where it's earning,
Nothing.
1%? But I just couldn't convince her to do otherwise. And I still think about this today. This was about a year ago. And I'm thinking, God, I'd love to call her, but I'm a little frightened about what I might hear when I do.
The first thing she
Yeah,
should
so-
do is become debt free.
That's right.
That'll be the first thing.
That's correct. Yeah.
And then move on into investing
That's
into
right.
real estate or
That's right.
stocks or
That's right.
money market, whatever.
That's right.
But the first thing you should do is be debt free.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that story reminds me of another. And then I'll move on from my stories if you guys have other questions. Because a year before that, I represented another young child, and this was a child of parents who were illegal.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to this child was the family had leased a property, and the child was playing in the yard of this property, and a metal gate, the ones that slide on the rails,
Like
had
electric.
come loose, and the child was next to this giant metal gate. By the way, not not a light one. This was a very heavy duty, huge, heavy gate. And the gate came off of the rail and fell and crushed this child.
Killed the child.
And did not kill the child, but he had
Brain damage.
permanent nerve damage to his face. You could actually see the face drooping a little bit. And the end of that story is horrible, because in that story, I was successful at setting up what we call an annuity for the child, so that when the child would turn 18, the money would be there. And we set the annuity up for the child. And I met with the parents, and we had success, and we did that. And 6 months after we set the annuity up for the child was killed.
Oh no.
How?
Yeah, car accident.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
That is terrible.
These stories are, they don't seem real. But anyways.
When you have clients that are making these decisions, whether to go to trial, settle,
Sure, yeah.
you put out, $500,000, they'll settle. But if we go to trial, you may get $1 million. Do the clients go in knowing that whether you go to trial or not, you settle, you get a percentage of whatever that amount is? Or is it open-ended when you have to go to trial, your fees are open-ended? Or is it always based on a percentage of what you collect?
It's always a percentage, but most fee agreements are staged, right? So the fee agreement will be this if it settles prior to going to court. It'll be this if you go to court. There are even increasing fees if you have to go on appeal, because that really is a case within a case. It's a whole nother case. And again, I know that the two of you talk a lot about the legal system. And the truth is, it's too expensive, really, to enforce your rights in 2026, right? So most of these cases, earlier you asked me, Steve, when does it make sense to go to court? And really, I think that number in my mind is increasing. It's increasing because it's getting more and more expensive. We have, for example, expert witness fees. You could spend $50, $100,000 on an expert, because there's this whole sub industry of experts now, and frankly, they've kind of bid their rates up.
How can veterans better protect themselves from dealing with insurance companies after injuries?
Well, I mean, to me, I think veterans fall in a class. I think they're highly vulnerable, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Okay, certainly if you look at the class of veterans that have served the way you have. By the way, Steve, thank you for serving for all of us that did not. Anyways,
Thank you.
so yeah, I was a little, just a sidebar on that for a minute. Today, I believe it was yesterday in the news, some more service men came back.
Yeah. 5 of them.
And
5.
Yeah,
4.
I thought it was 4 or 5. Anyways, and I listened to these stories on the news, and it's just so easy to forget the humans and their families, and it's far too easy. They're just numbers on the news. That really frightens me.
One of them,
Anyways,
my son graduated and commissioned with in Utah.
Really?
He knew him. He was his buddy.
really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is this is the thing. There's nothing to say about that, but right, there are no words. Is the point, but I don't think we talk about it enough. This is my feeling. So, but the answer to your question, Steve, is my feeling about veterans is they are a more vulnerable class of people.
Why so?
I think because of their life experience. Right? If they have served, I think the percentages that I've seen of people that come back with PTSD from service is fantastic, huge. I actually think the articles that I've read, it's You know, in life, things happen and you don't see the impact or effects of that thing until later. And so I think for years later. So for servicemen that were in Afghanistan and served, they come back and initially perhaps they look fine. And as time goes on, they're not. But, you know, long story short.
Like the Vietnam vets.
Absolutely, like the Vietnam vets. Absolutely. Frankly, if you want to use something maybe a little bit more trite, it's like an NFL player, right? That suffers multiple concussions, and you see them and they look great. They look fabulous. They're a specimen. You know, they're absolute specimen, and they retire from the NFL, and it's not until 10 or 15 years later that they're really suffering from what
And
happened.
you know how you know that you have pain is when you go to hot yoga. Then you realize, oh my God.
Wait a second here. You're learning about me. I'm learning about you. Are you a hot yoga guy?
Yeah. And I didn't realize I was in so much pain until I went there. I'm in a lot of pain. But you know what? Let's just jump off that.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question real quick
ask me.
before we leave you.
Go ahead.
How does artificial intelligence change the practice of law?
So,
And do you use it to write your brief?
good question.
Like that one guy.
Judges, listen up.
I forget
That's right.
his name.
Judges, listen up. Everything's submitted by Leonard Stone. Right. So there's
He
a lot
doesn't write
of
anything.
discussion about that. My answer is not going to be what you think, or maybe it will be. I'm not sure. I think if you're not using AI, I think you're committing malpractice.
It's a tool.
I think it's a tool.
It's a tool.
So the way, for example, that I use it. By the way, it would be. I mean, your entire audience should be using AI. You can digest
Very
information faster. You can learn about things faster. And my experience with AI is probably like yours, which is this: I can ask it a question, I'll get 10 answers, and 4 of them will be garbage. Right? And 2 of them I already knew. But 4 of the remaining of the 10 are things I didn't think about.
You're like, holy crap. I didn't
Okay,
think about
so the short answer is I think AI makes us better lawyers. It makes our clients, like I said earlier, they're better clients too. And I think if you think about the stereotypical older lawyer that doesn't like technology, to me that is a recipe for disaster. For disaster. It's not just AI, by the way. If you go into our firm, we are hyper-focused on how technology can make us better. In fact, it's one of our values. So to me, I think about technology a lot. I think about AI a lot. And I think if lawyers aren't using it, I think they're not the lawyers they could be.
Sure.
Yeah.
You have anything else from Mr. Stone?
I just wanted to know if you can remember your best or most favorite case, client, and your worst. And
So my favorite
names.
Yeah, and then names.
No names.
Well, first of all, favorite is always tough, right? Because when we have memorable cases, someone's been seriously hurt. Yeah. That's the way it goes. Okay, but the answer to your question is, I was contacted by a family whose mother was killed on a Convention Center Drive. Mm-hmm. Right, so we all know that strip of road between the strip and the convention, right? And there's a flyaway place where you can float on air. And now there's Bagel Mania for those of you that live here in Vegas, and all that is there. And they said our mother was jaywalking across the street there and was hit by a taxi and was killed. And they said, we have been to other law firms and they've all turned us down because she was jaywalking. And I said, listen, I'd like to see the accident report. And I got a copy of the accident report and I read the statement of the taxi cab driver. And he said something like this. He said, I was driving. He said, by the way, this happened at night too. Okay. Said, I was driving down Convention Center Drive and I hit this woman and I didn't even see her until I saw her body on the side of the road. And I read the statement and I thought, you know,
We mean in Syria.
I've been on Convention Center Drive and I've been on that road at night. And that thing is lit up like Giant Stadium, you know, or Allegiant Stadium. Okay. And I said, that's impossible. So I do not accept that story. So it was a very complicated case. We sued the taxi cab company, discovered that evidence was destroyed, the dash cam video was missing, all sorts of things happened. But anyways, and we did something really nice for that family, really nice for that family. The family took some of the money and they set up a foundation. And for me, I've got this picture. This is another amazing thing about this case, is I actually have a picture of her. How is it possible that I have a picture of her from the accident? Because if you know Convention Center Drive, then you've probably seen that building that looks like the Empire. It's like a black office building. It's the only office building on Convention Center Drive. It's a big black building that's kind of glossy. And what happened is she was married to a physician. She was Chinese and she worked as a translator in that building. And she was walking across the street to go to her car. Well, it turns out that there were cameras on that black building that were facing in the direction of where she was hit. And it didn't capture her being hit, but it captured her, I would say, a second and a half before she steps in front of this taxi cab. Okay? She's wearing a light-colored beige blouse and a light-colored skirt, and she's holding her purse like this, which is also white, and she's wearing white shoes. And I can see the light reflecting off of her clothing, which begged the question, what the hell was going on there?
How do you know?
Okay, and the answer obviously was, because she was highly educated, was that she saw the taxi cab coming and couldn't imagine that he didn't see her and was slowing, right? So this picture, it's not on my wall right now, but it's been on my wall. It was just kind of taped up there because it meant something to me. And every time I look at that picture, I think to myself, and I thought at the time, that I had the honor of telling her story, of kind of speaking for her, speaking for someone that couldn't speak for themselves. And I think about stories all the time. I think lawyers are storytellers. At the end of the day, it's what we are.
A lot more than they need to.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So anyways, that's the answer to your question. That was a memorable case for me because I saw something in the case that other people didn't see.
Was he texting?
And
hit her? Is that
no one knows. But I think it's reasonable to assume he was texting.
Did you go to trial? Yeah. What was the outcome?
No, it settled pre-trial,
Huh?
and it was a very valuable settlement. And but it's just a case that kind of sits with me. You know, as far as bad cases that sit with me, usually there have been losses. I've had losses.
Yeah.
So those never feel good. They feel horrible. And I've also had cases where I just get sideways with a client, and it makes the experience extremely unpleasant.
Yeah, it does.
And so that happens too, because we're all people, you know. So that happens too. Yeah. So.
Well, Mr. Stone, thank you for taking your time out
Sure.
to come and talk with us.
Yeah.
Mark's going to zoom in on you. This is your time to. You got like glitter.
Yeah, could be.
Where were you? Anyways,
Yeah.
Mark's going to zoom in on you, and you could promote your firm.
Right.
Or let us know what
Yeah.
slogans you have. I'm sure there's a slogan and how people
Right.
could get in touch with you if they
Yeah.
need an attorney in your expertise.
Thank you.
Website, email, phone number, whatever you
Thank you. Look, yeah. So you already know who I am. My name's Leonard Stone. I'm a partner of Shook & Stone. My partner, John Shook, and I started our firm nearly 30 years ago. Our next year is our 30th anniversary, so we're going to do some great things. But we're super proud that we've been around that long. We've helped out a lot of people. And the bottom line is, if you've got a question, then I've got an answer. It may not be the answer that you want to hear, but it'll be an honest answer from a good lawyer. Again, we handle injury claims, we handle work injuries, we handle disability, and all of those areas we're available really 24/7 to answer questions. We're easy to find. shookandstone.com, 570-0000. If you're up north, we've had an office on Ryland, 338 Ryland, for 15 years. So we are north-south. We're Nevada strong, and we'll be around for a long time. So if you need anything, let me know.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stone. Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Folks, that's Leonard Stone, founding partner of Shook and Stone Injury Lawyers. We hope that this program was very informative for you. And if you need a personal injury attorney, please give Mr. Stone a call. This is Steve Sanson, Stephanie Phillips, Veterans in Politics. Until next time.
Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, live stream on Facebook.